In 1940, the British Air Ministry looked at a new aircraft proposal and said no, no guns, no armor, no metal frame, built from wood, balsa and plywood, the kind of material you find in a school workshop. The engineer behind it was told to stop wasting everyone's time. He ignored them. He built it anyway, with his own money, in his own factory, with no government support. 2 years later, a German radar operator sitting somewhere beneath Berlin was staring at a blank screen. He could hear the engines above him, but the screen showed nothing, no signal, no return, because the aircraft up there was built from wood, and wood does not reflect radar. The pilot inside had no guns, no armor, and no way to fight back if a German fighter found him. He didn't need any of it. He was already faster than anything the Luftwaffe could put in the air. The very thing that made every Air Ministry official laugh in 1940, the wood, the absurd wooden frame, was the exact reason German radar never saw it coming. And the man who built it had been told 3 years earlier to stop wasting everyone's time. To understand why the Mosquito was possible at all, you have to understand what was happening to British bombers in 1940 and 1941, and the answer is simple. They were dying. The RAF's standard heavy bombers, the Wellingtons, the Stirlings, the early Halifaxes, were large, metal, and slow. They flew at night to avoid German fighters, but German radar, the Freya and Würzburg systems, could track metal aircraft across hundreds of miles. Night fighters guided by ground radar intercepted them in the dark. Anti-aircraft batteries with radar-directed guns tore formations apart. Crews completed an average of just a handful of missions before they were shot down. The losses were so severe that Bomber Command was quietly calculating whether the entire strategic bombing campaign was sustainable at all. The problem was not courage. British crews had that in abundance. The problem was physics. A large, metal, slow aircraft over defended German territory at night was a target, and no amount of bravery changed the mathematics of radar, flak, and fighters working together. Geoffrey de Havilland had been building aircraft since 1908. He was born in 1882 in Hertfordshire, the son of a clergyman, and from his earliest years he was obsessed not with flight in any romantic sense, but with the engineering of it, the precise relationship between weight, power, and speed. He founded the de Havilland Aircraft Company in 1920, and by the late 1930s it was one of Britain's most respected manufacturers. He had built civilian airliners, training aircraft, and light bombers. He understood one principle more deeply than almost anyone else in British aviation. The single most important number in aircraft design is power-to-weight ratio. Everything else, speed, climb rate, range, maneuverability, flows from that one relationship. And de Havilland had an idea that the Air Ministry considered, in their own words, completely impractical. What if you built a bomber so fast that it simply did not need guns or armor? A conventional bomber carries tremendous weight in defensive armament, gun turrets, ammunition, armor plating around crew positions, and fuel tanks. Strip all of that out. Remove every pound of defensive weight. Put that weight savings into fuel and engines instead. The aircraft becomes lighter, faster, and longer ranged in a single stroke. Make it from wood rather than aluminum, and you save further weight while eliminating the radar reflection that made metal aircraft visible to German detection systems. Pause and think about what that actually means. In 1940, radar worked by sending out radio waves and detecting the signal that bounced back from metal surfaces. Wood absorbs and scatters radio waves rather than reflecting them cleanly. A wooden aircraft presented a radar return so faint and confused that it was effectively invisible against the background noise of the system. De Havilland was not just saving weight. He was building an aircraft that the most sophisticated detection system in the world could not reliably find. The Air Ministry rejected the proposal in early 1940. Too unconventional, too risky. No defensive armament meant the crew was completely exposed if intercepted. Wood was considered a primitive material for a modern combat aircraft. The officials who reviewed the proposal had careers built on conventional thinking, and the Mosquito was not conventional thinking. It was a gamble built on a single insight, that speed and invisibility were better defenses than guns. De Havilland did not wait for permission. He used company funds to begin development, assigned his best designers to the project, and pushed the prototype forward on his own authority. The aircraft that emerged, the Mosquito prototype, flew for the first time on November 25, 1940. During trials, it outran every RAF fighter sent to intercept it. It was faster than the Spitfire at altitude. The Air Ministry, confronted with performance figures they had not thought possible, reversed their decision and ordered it into production. Let me put you in that cockpit for a moment. It is January 30th, 1943. You are the pilot of a Mosquito of 105 Squadron, and your target tonight is Berlin. Not the outskirts, not a factory on the edge of the city. The center of Berlin, in daylight, at low level, timed to interrupt a speech Hermann Göring is giving to mark the 10th anniversary of the Nazi regime. You have no guns. If a Focke-Wulf 190 finds you, your only response is to push the throttles forward and run. Your two Rolls-Royce Merlin engines produce 3,000 combined horsepower, pulling an airframe that weighs less than half of a Lancaster bomber. Your top speed is over 400 miles per hour. The Focke-Wulf's top speed is 408. The margin between survival and death is 8 miles per hour, and the skill of the pilot behind you. You cross the Dutch coast at low level, below radar coverage, hedge-hopping across occupied Europe at 300 miles per hour. The aircraft is smooth, responsive, alive under your hands in a way that no heavy bomber ever feels. You climb as you approach Berlin, find your target through the nose, and release your bombs at low level with an accuracy that a high-altitude attack could never achieve. By the time the German air defenses have fully reacted, you are already turning west and accelerating. Göring's speech is interrupted by the air raid sirens. The propaganda effect alone is worth more than 100 tons of bombs dropped from 20,000 feet. You land back in England before the afternoon is over. You have been to Berlin and back, and nobody shot at you. Not because they didn't try, because they couldn't catch you. But here is the part of this story that most people never hear. And it changes how you see the Mosquito entirely. The aircraft was so fast and so capable that RAF Bomber Command assigned it the missions nobody else could survive. Precision attacks on Gestapo headquarters in occupied cities, timed to the minute to avoid killing civilian workers. Low-level raids on prison facilities to free resistance fighters before they could be executed. Deep penetration missions into the heart of Germany that no other aircraft could complete and return from. The Mosquito's extraordinary capability made its crews extraordinarily expendable. Pathfinder Force crews, who flew Mosquitoes to mark targets for the main bomber stream, completed tour after tour of the most dangerous missions in Bomber Command. The casualty rates among Pathfinder Mosquito crews were among the highest of any specialized unit in the RAF. The aircraft that was designed to survive by being uncatchable was given the jobs where being uncatchable was the only thing that gave you any chance at all. By the end of the war, over 400 Mosquitoes had been lost in operations. Each one carried 2 men. The Germans noticed what they were facing. Hermann Göring, in a speech that became famous after the war, reportedly expressed his fury that Britain could produce an aircraft that German industry could not match, built from materials that Germany had dismissed as primitive. The Luftwaffe developed the Focke-Wulf Ta-Fam 144, a wooden night fighter specifically designed to counter the Mosquito. Problems with the adhesive used in its wooden construction caused structural failures. The program was abandoned. Germany could not build a wooden aircraft capable of catching the one that had been built in a British factory from balsa and plywood. Geoffrey de Havilland received a knighthood after the war. He continued building aircraft, and the philosophy he had applied to the Mosquito, the relentless pursuit of the power-to-weight ratio as the foundation of all aircraft performance, carried directly into the de Havilland Comet, which in 1952 became the world's first commercial jet airliner. The same instinct that produced a wooden bomber that outran German fighters produced the aircraft that made modern air travel possible. Over 7,700 Mosquitoes were built before production ended. They served as bombers, night fighters, photo reconnaissance aircraft, maritime patrol aircraft, and pathfinders. They operated in every theater of the war. Pilots who flew them described the experience in terms that set it apart from every other aircraft of the era. Fast, precise, responsive, and alive. The Air Ministry said no in 1940. The wood that made them laugh made German radar blind. The absence of guns that made them nervous made the aircraft light enough to outrun everything the Luftwaffe sent after it. They laughed at the wooden plane. The Luftwaffe stopped laughing very quickly, and the man who built it with his own money, against every official objection, never needed their permission to be right.